What's up, Unusual Corpse? This is X with the Unusual, and welcome to the first episode of this new theory-type show thing. So, we're going to talk about The Office. The Office is a great show. It's a fun show about a quirky boss, the love story between a salesman and a receptionist, the comedic rivalry between two salesmen, the violent serial killer who strangles people to death, and Pretzel Day.
Well, I like Pretzel Day.
So we're discussing the Scranton Strangler today, a running subplot in the series starting in Season 6 and ending in the final season. This theory is very likely the most popular fan theory to come out of the show, and I'm going to discuss all the evidence that the Scranton Strangler is none other than Dunder Mifflin's Human Resources Representative, Toby Flenderson.
Does anyone have a camera here?
No one has a camera here.
You might find it hard to believe, but I've compiled evidence that George Howard Scub was framed for the crime and it is really Toby. You may believe it to be Creed or Dwight or, I don't know, Aaron. But after the evidence presented, you will see the truth. Toby is the Scranton Strangler. So the Scranton Strangler saga begins in Season 4, Episode 14, Night Out. Toby's entire life up to this point has shown to be pretty miserable. He's in a job he's unpassionate about.
So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
He went through a messy divorce.
I wanted to talk to you about your divorce. Whoa. Sorry,
He's constantly bullied by Michael.
Who let the Lemonhead into the room? You are a waste of life, and you should give up.
And Pam ended up with Jim, and not himself. But for the most part, he seemed to be well liked by his co-workers, minus Michael and maybe Dwight. But this would change in Night Out when this happens. Humiliating himself in front of the entire office, he chooses at this moment in time to leave Dunder Mifflin for Costa Rica, his last attempt at being happy in his eyes. All until he actually goes to Costa Rica and breaks his neck on the third day there.
I went ziplining my third day in Costa Rica. I guess the harness wasn't strapped in exactly right. I broke my neck. And I've been in the hospital 5 weeks now. I still haven't seen the beach.
This is pretty important. It's easy to believe that this was his breaking point and what turned him crazy and caused him to return to Scranton and become the Strangler. Worth noting is the fact that Toby broke his neck, so wouldn't it make sense that when his sanity broke, he'd want to inflict the same pain onto others? The timeline would skip ahead a bit with the first mention of the Strangler in Season 6, but there was possibly a mention of his first victim. In Season 5, Episode 12, Meredith mentions that her neighbor was murdered.
Today.
you said that yesterday.
Yeah, my neighbor got murdered.
There's nothing definitive here, but considering the timeline, it's very possible that this was the first incident involving the Scranton Strangler. In Season 6, Episode 17, Andy holds up a newspaper reading, Scranton Strangler Strikes Again. Not to mention that 2 episodes before Meredith mentions her neighbor's murder, we have this little scene.
You are the silent killer. Go back to the annex.
You'll see.
Also very much worth noting is the fact that in the Strangler's first official mention, Toby is not seen at the hospital for Cece's birth. This would have been a painful thing for him to go to, considering his unrequited feelings for Pam. Maybe that would have prompted him to commit a murder during her delivery. A series of random references to the Strangler, mainly made by Dwight, are made, until the Strangler's capture in Season 7, Episode 8. The most evidence for Toby being the Strangler comes from the cold open to this episode, as well as parts of the rest of the episode. So in the cold open to the episode, the entire office gathers around Toby's computer to watch the live capture of the Scranton Strangler on the news. That is, everyone in the office except for Toby, who is nowhere to be seen the entire episode. If you didn't notice, Toby is completely absent this episode, even from the Glee viewing party which every character shows up in later in the episode. Also, a small detail which I think is pretty jarring that you may have missed is that in a joke, Toby's phone rings during the chase and Kelly immediately hangs it up. But here's where the detail comes in. Erin is also watching the chase and she is not at reception, meaning that she was not there to forward the call to Toby's phone, meaning that somebody was calling Toby directly during the chase. This comes up in significance with the next detail, which is one of the most jarring details, which leads to a lot of people to think that the Strangler is actually someone at Dunder Mifflin. The car that the Strangler is seen driving in the chase appears in the Dunder Mifflin parking lot in the Season 6 premiere during the parkour scene. So somebody close to Toby could have recognized his car and then called him because of that. The next significant mention of the Strangler comes in Season 7, Episode 11, when Toby announces that he will be on the jury of the Strangler case. He behaved very smug about this, which could mainly be perceived as liking the attention from his coworkers, but it could also be interpreted as him being happy he has an opportunity to put the final nail in the coffin for Scub and save himself. A bit of a stretch? Maybe. But Toby also shares information on the case very openly despite the fact that he's not meant to by law. Maybe because that doesn't matter to him in his hour of victory. But Toby's happiness from framing Scub would quickly change when the verdict is announced in Season 7, Episode 21. When Toby announces the verdict to the entire restaurant, which likely he wasn't meant to do, but then again he does end up lying about the verdict, since Scub is not put to death, as he is seen later in the series.
Man's being put to death.
Why would Toby think Scub is innocent when supposedly shown in Season 9 he very much isn't? It's very likely that Toby knows he's innocent because he framed him, possibly from having the same car or some other means that would happen off camera. This guilt would eat Toby up for the next 2 seasons, where he would mention the Strangler constantly before everything comes to a head in Season 9, Episode 16. After spending 2 seasons talking about his guilt over the verdict, Nellie convinces Toby to confront Scub. This confrontation happens off-screen and ends with Toby's neck being broken. But here's a different perspective for this. Toby, in reality, confessed to Scub that he was the real Strangler, and as a response was attacked. And Toby already broke his neck before, so it could have, for lack of a better term, opened up this old wound. Toby wasn't feeling guilty because he thought he put away an innocent man for life. He was feeling guilty because he knew he did. All the evidence that's shown through the main series, but there is a bit of evidence which I think is pretty glaring in the web episode Blackmail. This episode is set before Season 6, so according to the supposed mention in the Christmas episode from Season 5, the Strangler would have been active around this time. In the episode, Creed gains blackmail on several office workers in order to get money out of them. At one point, they attempt to get help from Toby, but it's shown that Creed has some dirt on Toby. But while everyone else bands together and has at least something alluding to what Creed has on them, Toby is too afraid to do anything on the matter, and there is no mention at all of what Creed has on Toby. It's just that bad.
There's some guidelines about this, and I don't have it because of...
What? What are you saying?
Did you just say the word mumble?
This next part is something that I noticed during a rewatching the series that I did not put into the script, so I'm going to improvise it real quickly. In Season 8, Episode 1, when Robert California takes several members of the office out to lunch, Toby leaves very frantically. There is not really an explanation as to why, but if you look at it under these circumstances, it makes a lot of sense. Maybe he still feels guilty considering this is not that long after the verdict, and he feels like he does not belong with the rest of them there. Or possibly, judging on his reaction, he saw somebody who was involved in the case and he doesn't want to be recognized, so he immediately leaves. You can take a look at the clip and judge from his reaction if there's something a little fishy going on.
I should not be here. I was in the wrong. I'm sorry. Just picture me back there. I was never here.
The Office US's official YouTube channel posted a video titled Making a Strangler, which the entire video seems to strongly support Toby being the Scranton Strangler in a documentary-style video. I'll leave a link so you can go check this out for yourself. Another video I'd recommend checking out is Paul Lieberstein, writer for the show, as well as Toby's actor, talking about the Strangler. So was Toby the Strangler? Was it Scub? Was it someone completely different? Comment your thoughts on the theory down below. Remember to like the video and also subscribe for new content. Go follow my Twitter and other social media, and I will see you in an extra life.